She cried on TV. She begged for justice. She played the grieving wife perfectly until investigators uncovered the truth. When Angela Moore stepped up to the microphones, the entire town leaned in. Her hands trembled as she held a framed photo of her husband, Daniel Moore. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her voice broke at all the right moments. "I just want my husband back," she said through tears. "He didn't deserve this. Please, if anyone knows anything, come forward." The cameras captured every sob. The public believed her instantly. So did the police. Because Angela Moore didn't look like a killer. She looked like a woman whose life had just been destroyed. Daniel Moore was found dead in the living room of the home he shared with Angela in Brookhaven Ridge, a quiet suburban town where people locked their doors more out of habit than fear. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no obvious weapon. Daniel appeared to have collapsed suddenly. Angela told first responders she had gone to bed early and discovered him the next morning when he didn't come upstairs. She screamed. She cried. She collapsed into a neighbor's arms. To officers at the scene, it looked like a tragic, unexplained death. But unexplained deaths don't stay unexplained forever. In the days after Daniel's death, Angela became the face of the investigation. She organized vigils. She spoke at memorials. She sat beside detectives during press conferences. She wore black. She carried tissues. She used the word "we" when talking about the future Daniel would never have. Strangers donated money. Local businesses sent flowers. True crime forums rallied behind her. Angela accepted every ounce of sympathy. She needed it, because sympathy was her shield. As investigators interviewed friends and family, a different picture of the Moore marriage began to emerge. Daniel was quiet, thoughtful, increasingly withdrawn. Angela was intense, controlling, emotionally volatile. Friends described arguments that ended abruptly when Angela entered a room. Tension you could feel, but never quite explain. Daniel had confided in a coworker just weeks before his death. "I'm thinking about leaving," he said. "I don't know how she'll react." That sentence would later echo through the courtroom because Daniel had tried to leave, and Angela hadn't accepted it. At first, the medical examiner listed Daniel's cause of death as undetermined, but investigators requested a full toxicology screen. When the results came back weeks later, everything changed. Daniel Moore had been poisoned, not suddenly, slowly. The substance had built up in his system over time, small doses administered repeatedly. This wasn't an accident. This was methodical, and only one person had daily access to Daniel. Detectives brought Angela back in for another interview. She cried again, but something was off. She never asked what poison was used, never asked how long Daniel suffered, never asked if the killer would be caught. Instead, she asked about herself. "What does this mean for me? People won't think I did this, right?" Grief doesn't usually sound like that. Investigators subpoenaed Angela's phone and laptop. What they found stunned them. Search history from weeks before Daniel's death. Can poison look like natural death? How long does poisoning take to kill someone? Do autopsies always find toxins? There were also deleted messages. Recovered messages. Messages to a man named Victor Hale, Angela's secret lover. Angela and Victor had been involved for nearly a year. Their messages revealed a woman who felt trapped and angry. She complained about Daniel constantly. "He's in my way. I can't live like this anymore. I deserve more." Victor tried to steer the conversations away from violence. Angela didn't. She fantasized about a future where Daniel simply wasn't there. And eventually, fantasy became planning. Angela never intended to look suspicious. That's why she cried publicly. That's why she begged for justice. That's why she played the grieving wife so convincingly. She believed emotion would override logic. And for a while, it worked. But forensic evidence doesn't care about tears. When police arrested Angela Moore, the community was stunned. The woman they had donated to, prayed for, defended online, was now accused of murdering her husband. Angela didn't scream. She didn't cry. She looked confused, almost offended, as if the world had misunderstood her performance. In court, prosecutors laid out a chilling narrative. They showed how Angela's grief had been calculated, how her public sorrow masked private planning, how every tear had been a tool. They played interviews back to back, highlighting inconsistencies. They read her messages aloud. The courtroom fell silent. The grieving wife had become something else entirely. The jury deliberated for less than 6 hours. Angela Moore was found guilty of first-degree murder. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As the sentence was read, Angela finally cried again. But this time, no one believed her. This case didn't fool investigators because of complexity. It fooled them because of performance. Angela Moore understood something dangerous. People trust tears more than facts. And sometimes, the most terrifying killers aren't violent or loud. They're convincing. They're patient. They're crying right in front of you.